This is episode 336 of Super League Pod, and this week it's another edition of Challenge Cup Pod. We recap the quarter-finals of this year's Cup competition with the help of your fan reviews. We also cover the Women's Cup, the 1895 Cup 2, with results and news from around the world of rugby league. Plus, find out who Alan finds boring, catch up on a good old conspiracy theory, and learn what it takes to make your drum heard in Wakefield. Strap in, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 336 of the Super League Pod. This week you have myself, Mark, and I'm rejoined after a little bit of a break, but it's Challenge Cup, so we get the Challenge Cup man, Alan. I don't know why you're the Challenge Cup man, I can't remember. It's because you went to a game every round, didn't you, a couple of years ago before all this world went to shit?
Yeah. I don't know if you... correlating those two things. It might be correlated.
No, you didn't cause COVID or a war or this inept Tory government or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware
of. Or the
no.
cost of living crisis. That one's not on you either. I'm going to let you off.
No, I think my trips to Keighley couldn't be held responsible for that. But yeah, no, it's nice to be back.
Do you want to, whilst you're back, do you want to tell us about our sponsor?
Yes, so Super League Pod is supported by Rob's Megastore. Rob's Megastore stocks a wide variety of toys, stationery, arts and crafts ideas, pet accessories, books, and of course, rugby league birthday cards. Search for Rob's Megastore on eBay, and you can find a link in the episode blog post on superleaguepod.com. SLP listeners can use the code SLP10, that's SLP10 at checkout to get 10% off any order over £5. Or you could enter SLP discount and give your 10% towards the show's running costs instead.
Good stuff. We've got a few bits of feedback to cover off before we're going to get into the main part of the show, which this week is the Challenge Cup quarter-finals. So obviously we've got quite a bit on the men's quarter-finals that were all televised over the weekend. And then we'll cover in other results, the Women's Cup quarterfinals as well, the 1895. There was bits and pieces from Championship. Actually, quite a few bits and pieces of news from Championship and League One rolling around this week. So we'll cover all of that as well. And then, Alan, we've got 2 rounds worth of guesses to make in our predictions this week. So let's...
I definitely look forward to the second match as being highly accurate.
I know, yeah. I mean, most of the time there's a finger in the air kind of approach, isn't there, to like the games. But when we've got a whole round of fixtures and definitely no idea about who will be available for selection on the Monday. And fitness, performance, suspension. Well, there shouldn't be any suspensions picked up by them. Did they do it in between? I can't remember. We'll see. We'll find out. It's been a while since we've had an Easter.
It is actually. Yeah.
Because we didn't even have one in 2019, because that was when it was all player welfare. Let's only have one game at Easter.
God, is it really 2018 since we had
a double header? Yeah.
Double header. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Welcome return.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm sure everyone else is. But before we get to all that, we've got a couple of bits of feedback. So I don't know how much you've caught up on this in the recent weeks. We've been talking about ticketing and particularly in and around the Challenge Cup. But then Neil Ormston got in touch last week with a bit of an idea about changing season tickets to being monthly subscriptions. Fatboy Rob got in touch about that. He said, Cass already do a version of Neil's idea. My pass is $16.66 a month, rolling forever. Doesn't include cup games, but does include women's reserves. He's put in brackets RIP for women's and academy. So he's saying that, you know, Cass already do that rolling direct debit thing that suggested. But I think one of the key things in Neil's was include something in it for cup games and it'll help the tendencies there.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency of it is, you know, I definitely agree with that. I think that probably is for clubs that aren't doing that, We're so used to monthly payments now, aren't we, for 90% of the bills that we pay. It probably does make a lot of sense. And I kind of agree with the idea of diversity in terms of different kind of options for, your people who can't make it to every game and that kind of stuff. The kind of conversations led me personally, when I was kind of listening to the show, to think about, well, we need to think about the cup, don't we? We need to think about how the cup is structured. Because this thing about, Super League clubs coming in at the stage they do, I think is ridiculous. I think that's too late. The 1895 Cup doesn't really... It doesn't have the same structure. It needs to have more rounds in it.
Yeah, now that's just a semi-final and final, it's kind of a bit... Even though you can understand the logic of it's the teams that got to a certain stage of the cup that get into that hat, but yeah.
I just kind of, because I was thinking, well, you could do something around, like League One doesn't have enough games, you could argue, in terms of, only having 11 teams, and you could put 1895 Cup games as a starter for 10, kind of a bit of a pre-season kind of starter as well. But yeah, there's all kinds of ideas.
Like we used to with the Northern Rail Cup sort of 8 years, 10 years ago.
Or the iPro Cup, that happened at Blackpool for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I do kind of think that there is something about... I genuinely don't know why Super League clubs don't come in earlier. I think it should be an open draw. I think we've seen that with the some of the Championship versus Super League matches that happened kind of in the previous round. I think they're kind of interesting for fans. It's different if you can go see a team that you don't play 3 or 4 times a year. I think there's a benefit to that. So I would personally be in favour of bringing as many teams in as possible, so you can have kind of giants against minnows. I think that's interesting in of itself. I think
the whole quarterfinals, this Magic weekend raised its head again. I think over the weekend as well. I must say, I'm not really in favour of that. I think Magic Weekend sells because everyone knows that their team's going to be playing in it. And I think if you're only going to know a few weeks ahead that your team's going to be playing in it, I don't think it's going to sell. So it defeats the point, to me, of Magic Weekend. So I know why people kind of want that idea to balance out the fixtures and potentially put some impetus into the cup. I don't think it does, because we've seen in the semi-finals people only watch their team's games generally anyway. Still, even in Challenge Cup semi-finals, I think it's mental that people can't sit there for 3 games, one of which is a final and the other of which is the team your team could be playing against in your own final. It's mental that people will pay the money but not watch all the games. Bizarre, but that's me.
Preaching to the converted there. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I quite liked this weekend just gone in terms of the concentration on the cup, in the sense of it kind of makes the cup the focus.
And having the women's cup rounds played very much alongside, and obviously now they have to squeeze semi-finals in because they're finals at the men's semi-finals, but having that alongside for the last couple of rounds as well that you've had, because the Challenge Cup has been the focus of the women's game for the first month of their season, it has put more focus on it overall, hasn't it, from both sides of the game then?
Yeah, and I think ultimately we can talk a lot about tickets and stuff. One thing that I noticed from the weekend's games, I thought actually, if we take the kind of game in France out slightly, because obviously it's a different circumstances, I thought for the other 3, the away support was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it was more home fans that were a bit lacking.
Yeah, the Hull fans were stacked in, weren't they, to half of that stand at Huddersfield, and certainly I felt like there was a bigger contingent of Wigan fans than I was even possibly expecting. I mean, there was 3 coach loads, and a lot of us that didn't go on coaches as well, there. So
I just kind of... There has to be something to encourage your home fans, and building it into the season ticket, yeah, why not? Because I think ultimately if you do go for a monthly payment idea, you're slightly getting away from this year. I've got 1 extra home game, or I've got 2, or this has happened, or that's happened. Yeah. It kind of just says, well, we'll just roll with it. By look of the literally look of the draw, you'll get a home tie, you might get an away tie, whatever. But yeah, we have to encourage home fans specifically to go to these games. But I do think it would be helped if, for example, Saints were going up to the Cumbria again. That attracted a lot of home fans and away fans.
Yeah.
And you could kind of, that in of itself is, you need to look at that and go, there's a lesson in there, and we need to facilitate that, because that it's good for both teams.
I'm looking back through like when Wigan have had games against lower league teams. There was York last year, but that was, I think, it was before we could have crowds back, so we didn't go to that. But there was the last one I really remember being at that was like a novelty experience was Dewsbury, because Dewsbury aren't a team that Wigan ever play in like pre-season friendlies or that sort of thing really, and whereas some of the Cumbrian clubs we have played in those games, and Swinton and stuff like that. There was a Swinton game actually as well that I remember going to that was well attended by Wigan fans, but Dewsbury was the last time I felt like a real novelty, because I'd never been there. I don't go there. There's no reason for me to go there, kind of thing. But on that one occasion, it did, and you had to find your way to a different ground, park somewhere you're not familiar, but all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
which was more enjoyable, to be honest, than another game at Warrington.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. But yeah, I mean, some of my formative memories of kind of early days supporting the Bulls are going to matches in Barrow and matches in Workington in the Cup. They were kind of, as I say, formative experiences. They're things, I still remember them now, and that's, a long, long time ago. So I don't see why we don't want to bring that back, because, we you already play Warrington enough. You don't need to play them again.
Bringing it back round to the the monthly subscription type of idea. One thing I was thinking is, and we do have a few listeners from down under, and I know some of them do have memberships. I think they tend to call them at their clubs season tickets, effectively. Is there a different way that they do it in Australia that we could think about over here as well? Other ideas that should be shared, because like I keep saying, good ideas can be shared, and they might not always work for everyone. It might work one place but not another, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be shared, discussed, and pick out the bits that might work for you. But what about, we heard from Dave Cantrell, it seems like he's got his tinfoil hat on.
Yes, so Dave says, talk of Leeds being relegated is just silly. They take enough fans to away matches that clubs will vote to change the rules at the last minute so they stay up.
See, this has been a trope that's been around for years and years and years. It applied when Wigan nearly got relegated, and I think still Castleford fans think there was some kind of... I mean, there was a rule breach by Wigan. They basically changed the player's salary to fit another player's salary in outside of what the rules permitted, and therefore were punished. But the way the cap worked, the punishment was the next year. But even if the punishment was that year, Wigan still wouldn't have finished as low as Castleford. So, but it's been around since then, hasn't it, this sort of talk? When we had the middle eights, there was a few times Leeds were in danger. But in reality, there's nothing to say that they would change the rules, is there?
No, I think tongue is firmly in cheek, I would say. But yeah, I still don't think we're quite at that point of worrying about that yet.
No.
But,
I mean, there'll be plenty of Featherstone fans who are assuming that the rules will change for Toulouse to stay in. And I actually think that that's where the rule maybe could have been thought of differently, giving these promoted teams a bit more chance. But we want straight up and down. Sky wants straight up and down relegation, so we have to play with that and deal with the consequences on the way it affects our sport. But maybe the new commercial third body will have a rethink on that, but I doubt that they'll get their say on that. I don't know what you reckon.
We need to do something about yo-yo teams, and we need to do something about competitiveness.
Although it is quite funny when Lee are the yo-yo team, just to see the toys come out of the pram.
It's funny. It's funny. I agree.
But it doesn't help our sport.
It doesn't help.